Think the sun is dangerous and best avoided at all costs? Well, you've been told wrong. The real danger may be in missing out on its healing power. Today, we're uncovering the truth about sunlight and light therapy, how it impacts your hormones, your mitochondria, and long-term vitality. In this episode, I sit down with Gerardo Gutiérrez, founder of Mitolux, whose journey from top Latin American photographer to light therapy pioneer shows just how transformative reconnecting with natural light can be. This episode is brought to you by Oral Tide Pro, Beam Minerals, and Berberine Breakthrough, all with special offers just for you. Just check out the show notes below for details. And until then, enjoy the show. Gerardo Guti, welcome back to the podcast. It is great to be face-to-face again.
Thank you, Ned. Yes, I'm super happy to be back here recording with you.
Yeah, I know. We always have a good time. And I'm excited. I mean, you've had a heck of a year. Let's just say it's been a big year for you. I want to tell people we will put the link in the show notes to the first episode that we recorded together, because that'll give you a lot of background about Guti. But I'm going to still go back a little bit just to frame the episode. And I just want to, let's go back to the version of Guti before that 4-month sun experiment. Like, what belief about health did you have to unlearn first? What's the one big block in your brain you had to kind of go, okay, I believe this to be true, but I now know it's so not true?
Well, basically I was afraid of taking the sun. I was the person that put all the dark sunglasses whenever I was out and put all the toxic sunscreen over me and simply tried to avoid sun, because that was what I was taught. Yeah. That was the common belief during the 80s, during the 90s. And probably it's just until now that things are changing. So that was me before. And I come from a photography background. So I studied a lot of light. That was what I was doing professionally before I started this endeavor. But changing the concept that light could be bad to actually light being the source of life, the source of healing, that was my biggest change in mindset. At the beginning, I actually didn't believe it. I had to put it to the test. But after I was feeling all the results and seeing all the results, then that made me change my mind. And now here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Here we are indeed. So what was the one metric that shifted, that convinced you that light was the thing? That it wasn't just being outside, that, it wasn't something else you made
Well, actually, there are many different things, because for me, at the beginning, the magical ingredient in light was UVB. Mm-hmm. Because if you get UVB, you get more serotonin that improves your mood. Also, the vitamin D that helps with your immune system and many different things. So basically, when I started doing the sunbaths, I did a vitamin D test, and obviously 2 months later, my levels changed a lot. So I was incredibly doing good. But everybody knows that you get sun, you get your vitamin D up. What really surprised me was how my mood improved, because vitamin D takes time. Even testosterone, it takes time. But with the mood, day number 1, I was feeling better. So back then I was with antidepressants, and light was helping me more, improving my mood, than antidepressants. And even nowadays, whenever I feel that I'm going to get sick or feel a little bit down, I just go take a sunbath, and in 2-3 hours after I take it, I just feel so alive. So that was my metric number 1, is how good I feel. And there's actually a reason for that. Your body evolved to need sunlight. So if it makes you feel good because you produce more serotonin, then that's a way to actually get more sunlight and get all the benefits that we're discovering. More benefits every month. It's incredible how every month there's a new study showing a new benefit of UVB, a new benefit of UVB. So that was part number 1. Then the other thing that catches my mind is the infrared, because everybody was showing like, get the infrared, improve your skin or improve your joints. And I started using it, but having better skin, of course, it's nice, but it's not a lifesaver.
No.
But then something happened that really blew my mind and also got me interested in learning in all the possibilities of near infrared, not just for skin anti-aging, is that I had a dog. Her name was Winnie, and basically she was almost not walking. And I had videos of that. So the doctor said, like, she's too old. We gave her all the anti-inflammatories, all the meds, and she's hurting. So we have nothing more to do. And since I was starting into the biohacking world, I said, like, I have nothing to lose. I'll put an infrared light on top of the crate and let's see what happened. From day number one, what surprised me is that her natural instinct made her now spend a lot more time inside the crate, because she usually didn't like being inside the crate.
Yeah.
The second day, the other dogs started joining in the crate. A few days later, and I had pictures of all that, the cats start getting in, and I was like, wow, they really love it. And that's why, because also dogs and cats nowadays are some deprived,
Sure.
but they have better instinct than us. So basically, whenever they see a ray of light, they go put themselves on the ray of light because they know that's needed for health. Okay, but the story, it's incredible. 2 weeks later, she was walking fine. And 1 month later, she was running med-free, just because of all the energy the near infrared was providing her, all the anti-inflammatory effects on the joints. So I said, like, wow, maybe if she wasn't all day inside, the her arthritis would have never developed the way it is, because near infrared, when you learn it, it's not something magical. It's just a part of the spectrum that we normally have in the sun. But modern life has taken it out away, because now we're with LEDs all day inside that have 0% infrared. So that's the other magical thing that made me change my mind on all the things we're missing from the sun.
Yeah. And that's phenomenal, right? Because we always say with animals, there's no placebo. Like
exactly.
There is, like the animal either feels better or they don't. That actually makes me, the problem is my dog doesn't have a crate. I might have to just put it where she is, put the light where she is so that she can get to it. Because she's 16 years old. I mean, she's still in really good shape, but I think she could probably use a little extra something. So I think I'm going to try that. But, you know, you bring up such a good point about pets, and we see some of the worst exposures in our environment now. You can see the effect on pets. So pets getting cancers, all these skin conditions. It's not just the light. It's even, if you think about the fact that most people still spray pesticides, herbicides on their lawns, that's where your animal is going. And so they're picking that up on their paws. And then on top of that, you're keeping them out, to your point, you keep them out of the sun, because not because you're trying to keep them, but you know, our pets for the most part are indoor pets, and too will have an impact. So those are really interesting observations. And we did talk about this in the first episode. So again, folks, if you haven't listened to the first episode, you might want to go back. But first, you need to listen to this one, because there's so much new stuff that Goody's gotten into that you're not going to want to miss this part. So there's an expression, and maybe this is your expression, that sunlight deficiency is the new scurvy, right? It's the new, what they used to see on the ships with sailors who weren't getting any fresh vegetables or fruits, that vitamin C was developing scurvy. So what does a sunlight deficient life look like in the modern world? Like from commute to couch, like how do we, you know, I mean, I think if people really sat and thought about it, they would realize, and especially people who work,
yes,
realize you get no sun. Like, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, basically now we understand that all our cells in the body have mitochondria, and all mitochondria respond to certain wavelengths of near infrared. So basically, we bulb to need light to give us more power for ATP production. And ATP production is the difference between a newborn or between an adult, because when you're born, your mitochondria are at 100%. Yes. And aging, in one of the ways, is decreasing mitochondria productivity. So one way to get mitochondria more energy working again, it's to get actually more near infrared. So that's what's happening, because if we go back on time, let's say 80 years, people were spending a lot of time outdoors. People were walking more. And even when they were inside, the light technology back then was incandescent, tungsten filament. So that was not efficient because 90% of the energy was actually near infrared. But those were incredibly healthy bulbs because all of that near infrared, in a way, was giving you back what you were not getting from the outside. But now, if you look at LEDs, that's totally different because now it's all efficiency. So it's super narrow band. So you're getting no violet, no UVA, no near infrared. But there's also bad because they have a spike in blue light. And blue light by itself, it's not bad. That's actually what triggers your circadian rhythm early in the morning. But in nature, it's always comes with the near infrared. And now we're spending all days with the blue light and without all of the full spectrum that natural light would give us. And that's aging our eyes, that's aging our skin, and that's basically lowering our metabolism.
Are you enjoying this episode? Amazing. I put together a gift for you. If you go to natniddam.com/free, you will get my 3 free habits for longevity and health span that you can practice every single day for the next 30 days. Now, it's not 3 habits every day. It's 3 habits you will execute for 30 days. So just one shot deal. So that's natniddam.com/free. Now let's get back to that episode. And that was the next question is, the fairest definition of sunlight deficiency. People think about your panel about vitamin D, which is really a hormone, but you just described all the other benefits that come from that full spectrum. So it's like the difference between taking one vitamin only, which is going to have its benefits, right? And like you said, blue light, it has its place. But if you exclude all the other nutrients, you're going to end up too skewed one way and deficient in all the other ways. And that ultimately is going to leave you completely unbalanced. So
yes, so we're learning every year more about sunlight. Probably the first benefit of sunlight that was documented was in the 1930s that they discovered that vitamin D, actually hormone vitamin D.
Yeah, I don't even want to call it a vitamin anymore. I want to call it hormone D.
Yes, so they found out that if you didn't get sun, you didn't produce that hormone and you got sick because vitamin D, it's basically more than 3,000 genes in your body. It reacts to 3,000 genes. So that was the first that was discovered. Get the sun, vitamin D. But now there's so much. As I told you, if you don't get near infrared, basically all of your cells start aging faster because you start producing less ATP. And that was one. But then they found out that the UVA also helps with nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is an incredible molecule with longevity. It's incredible, all of the different things it helps. It helps lower blood pressure, circulation, and so many processes inside your body. But now there's more. There's some wavelengths that give different benefits. Even on the violet, for example, one of the reasons why our eyes are aging faster nowadays is lack of deep violet light. So there's some studies that have been made in Japan, and basically they had kids inside and outside, and they found that people that were studying with more artificial light that was deficient in the deep violet developed more eye problems, myopia specifically.
Really, that's so interesting. I developed myopia very young as a kid, and I was a kid that spent more time inside because I read all the time. So although we had, at least in those days, we had the incandescent light bulbs, but to your point, if you're inside too much, and also I live in a climate where, if you're lucky, you get a few months a year outside, and the rest of the time, even if you were outside, A, it's really cold, and B, the angle of the sun makes it that you're not going to get as much of everything that you need. So you left out the UVA at the beginning. Do you think that you're going to end up adding it into a future device down the road? I think we talked about this a little bit. I mean, people freaked out when you put in UVB, and they will flip out when you put in UVA. So let's review quickly for people. And again, I think what a lot of people miss about the device is that especially when it comes to the UVB delivery that you're doing, it is descriptive. Like, you are very specific. You're very careful about helping people to understand what skin type they have, what's their tolerance going to be to that UVB, and you only get that amount for a period of time. You have to respect your distance from the machine. Otherwise, it'll beep at you and shut down. And I know people who made the fatal error of overriding the machine, and they exceeded the time. They couldn't get closer because you very cleverly made it that the UVB would shut off if you got too close.
Yeah.
But they still found a way, and they sustained a burn, right? UVB. You took one for the team on the UVB when you started, but what's your plan on the UVA? Because I remember when I first posted about the Mitolux and shared about it, I had a couple of people who are really big in the light space. I think one of them is Danielle Hamilton, saying, there's no UVA. You need UVA. UVA is not a monster. And I was like, at the time, I don't know. Goody didn't put it in, so it can't be good. So where are you going on the UVA front now?
Okay. Basically, the decision to not put UVA back then is because people are afraid of aging. And one of the bad things that is true about the UVA is that it ages your skin. There's no doubt about that. When you get the sun, the part of the sun that's causing the skin aging is the UVA. So since I wanted people to use the device to get the benefits of UVB, I still believe that UVB is the one that gives most of the benefits, but UVA does a lot of amazing things. For example, around the 380 nanometer, that's where you trigger your metabolism. And yes, and also melanin, tannin melanin production has a lot of different biological effects. And of course, nitric oxide. When you get the UVA, you produce more nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is one of the most miracle molecules ever for skin anti-aging and for many things. So yes, the more I understand the sun, the more I understand that the future it's more broadband instead of just narrow band spikes. But obviously, getting the narrow band spikes at the most efficient frequency, it's amazing because, for example, our device, we use the UVB at the 295 nanometer, and that's the most efficient for vitamin D production. And I didn't say that. Those are some studies that some other people did, and we use that information. So what's the benefit? You get the most vitamin D production with the least amount of UVB exposure in the least amount of time.
Right.
So
do you think you'll take the same approach with UVA some point? Because, with UVB, again, you're delivering a very specific dose for a specific amount of time to mitigate the burning. Right. So with UVA, is it possible that a little bit, like a specific dose for a specific amount of time, will not, it won't speed up skin aging, but you'll be able to get the benefits like the nitric oxide that you're talking about?
Actually, I'm working on a big panel that will have 10 different wavelengths, and that will have also the UVA. So in every generation of our products, I believe the closer the spectrum will be looking to the sun, because now that I am every year understanding more all of the benefits of all the different wavelengths of sunlight, better just to not try to reinvent the wheel and just mimic the sun spectrum completely. But that's also technologically very difficult. So it's not easy to do that, but that's what we're working on. And definitely would be adding the UVA in the future. And
I love the sun. Like I carry the wounds, the scars of being a lifeguard for many years. And I always felt better when I was in the sun. There's an irrefutable fact that the sun will speed up aging of skin. And so I think for most of us, what we want to find is where's the balance in this, and finding those points of balance. And my guess is what you'll end up doing with your big panel is that you might have, let's say you have a 20-minute exposure to get the whole thing. the UVB will come on for a period of time. The UVA will come on with a certain period of time, because you made a really good point, even with the first panel, that, and you said this earlier today, that UVB in nature does not come without red and near infrared. Like, they come together. And is it possible that there's a synergy happening there across the bands? It's not just UVB by itself.
Totally, yes. It's just a dancing between all of the different wavelengths. And one of the reasons why the sun is aging you so much is that in nature, how does it work? You start with sunrise. So in a perfect world, you would be out looking at sunrise without your glasses, and that will start syncing your circadian rhythm. Mm-hmm. Then during the golden hour, you would get a 1 hour dose of the most healing red and near infrared wavelengths, and that would be start to prepare your skin. Then at mid-morning, you start getting the UVAs that start the tanning process. You're still getting all of the infrared, so you're preparing your skin. And then when the UVBs start coming in, you're ready, because your eyes already signal the production of melanin. The UVA also started oxidizing the melanin and getting you protected. And all of the near infrared also protected your skin. So when you finally got the UVBs, then you were protected. But what happens in modern world? We go outside at noon. Yeah. Without having received all of the near infrared in the morning, or the UVAs while they were rising, and with glasses, so our brain thinks we're inside. It doesn't produce the melanin, so we just get burned. And also we spend too much time outside, because for me the real way would be to get enough light, and then when you have enough, just cover yourself. But we're not made to spend 5 hours under the sun, but also to get shade.
Yeah, you can be outside without being in full sun. And I will say that when I was lifeguarding, when I finally grew a brain and said, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't, I should be undercover for part of the day, you still get plenty of UV in the shade. Like, you don't get nothing. So I think that, walking that line between getting enough to get the benefits, but not getting so much so that you don't go too far on the other side is going to be the key. And the beauty of this is, for those of us who don't have the luxury of being able to be outside all day, every day, I think that the technology that you're bringing to the table, quite literally, because mine is on my table right now, which we'll talk about later. The beauty of bringing this to the table is that we now have ways to mitigate the downsides of this indoor lifestyle while still giving our bodies the support it would get from being outside. So, okay, so a couple of other things. So what health conditions do you think have the strongest trial evidence for sun exposure, or like UVB phototherapy, like being a benefit? And which ones do you think are we're not quite sure yet? Like, I know there's some skin conditions that can benefit. What are your thoughts on that?
When you go back on time and see when they were recommending light therapy, getting the sun for different diseases, there was this I believe, like ancient Greek doctor. And one of the benefits he was talking about was basically skin conditions. I have to look his name, but basically he was talking, if you want more vitality, if you want better skin or have skin issues, then get the UVB. And medically speaking, UVB now is being used for many different diseases, like eczema, for example, psoriasis, vitiligo. Yeah. So all of those are autoimmune conditions. So what UVB does, it's many things. One of them is getting more vitamin D that helps with the autoimmune conditions, but also it lowers the autoimmune response, because those diseases, because they're autoimmune in nature, you have a hyperreactive autoimmune system. But the UVB is basically calming that response and helping you with skin. So if you're having skin issues, one thing would be get more sun.
Get a bit more sun. Let's say a person doesn't have access to the sun because of the climate they live in. Is there a way, or have you looked at ways to use the UVB from the Mitolux to help people with those conditions? Like, would that change the way that they use it, or do you think that's still to come?
Okay, yes, there are so many people that are actually buying our device because they know that the UVB and the near infrared will help their skin conditions. So we cannot make any medical claims, but
Right.
obviously the wavelengths do what they do. And they will definitely replace what the sun would be doing. So getting near infrared helps with acne, and getting UVB helps with many different skin conditions. So we have a lot of success stories of people that had actually used it for that reason.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. So, Goody, if money was no object, what's the clinical trial you would fund tomorrow?
Yes, the first one I would, because I would really want to do a lot of clinical trials, and the one I will be doing soon is to prove how much vitamin D our device could deliver.
So to actually measure it.
Yes, it's a super easy clinical test, but you have to follow all the procedures, and that's what makes it more expensive. So you need to have at least 10 people with similar conditions, and that would be the one that I will love to do, and probably will do it in the next 6 months, because when you're a small company starting, you need to save some money to do that. But that's the first one I'm planning to do. But then I want to do another one with nitric oxide when we finally launch the UVA. And also one that to me is super important is how our device could help your state of mood when working indoors, because that's one of the biggest things that happens, that if you're inside with a light that's not natural, that makes you tired, that makes you down, that gets you depressed. So actually do a clinical test that showed how much it could improve your state of mind while working inside.
I have my panel on a very specific setting right now that I think speaks a little bit to what we're talking about. But, in the research right now, there's some of the randomized controlled trials are showing that supplementing with vitamin D, and I'm also speaking to a lot of people where taking a vitamin D supplement it's not cutting it for them, right? So from your perspective, like, what biological mechanisms explain why sunlight provides advantages that pills just can't? Like, it's almost like you can't put it in a bottle. Like you can't get sunlight in a bottle. So
that's totally true. Yeah. So what happens is as follows. There are a lot of benefits that are attributed to vitamin D that actually they're not vitamin D dependent. So they got these groups. You spend time in the sun, you don't. One has high vitamin D, the other one doesn't. And you see all of the benefits the other people are receiving. Then they thought like, okay, then it's vitamin D. But then when they give vitamin D to a population, they have some of the benefits like the calcium absorption and many more, because vitamin D is an incredible molecule and does a lot, but they don't receive all of the benefits that the sun does. For example, vitamin D doesn't give you the near infrared. Vitamin D doesn't give you the nitric oxide. And also another thing that not so many people know, when you get the sun, vitamin D, it's one of the molecules that your body produces, but there are 24 molecules that are similar to vitamin D that we still don't understand what they do, that the body is producing. So probably a lot of these benefits are not from the vitamin D, but from these other vitamin D precursor molecules.
That's really interesting. Also, I've always been curious about this, and I don't know if you've looked into this. Have you looked into that? There's that pathway where we take 25 hydroxy, which is one of I think it's the second to last form of vitamin D. And then in order to be able to clear it, there's another step where it goes to 125 hydroxy, which is the active, it's the money molecule. Like, that's what we want. And for some reason, most people measure 25 hydroxy, but some people aren't very good at, they're genetically, they are not as efficient at converting the 25 to the 125. So the 125 could be low, but it's because they're getting a backup of the 25. Do you think that when the body is making its own vitamin D, that might mitigate? This is something I've always wondered. Like, is the body better able to manage vitamin D when it's making its own versus when we're just giving it that one form. And that may speak to what you were just saying here. It's not just the one vitamin D.
Yes, well, as you said, everybody body is different. So somebody could be very efficient producing vitamin D, getting exposed to UVB. Some people are less. So our device gives you the UVB, but it depends on the body. For example, if you have low magnesium, you cannot produce as much, or you have low cholesterol because you're taking statins. But yes, when you get the sun, it's not a spike in vitamin D. Like when you take a pill, because when you take a pill, you can have your levels up super fast, but 1 month later you stop taking them and they go down. It's because you don't have all of these vitamin D complex, all of the other similar molecules that your body is storing, and when it needs them, it converts it to the other forms of vitamin D. So when you take the sun, maybe the vitamin D could last for 3 months. You see like the curve slowly going down, and with oral vitamin D, it's just a spike. So it works in a very different manner. And also one thing that people should know is that in America, a lot of people have gastrointestinal issues. So you're probably taking your vitamin D and it's going down the toilet. And that's even up to 35% of the people that are not efficient absorbing vitamin D. So that's so a lot of our customers that are buying this product is also because they know that they've been taking vitamin D and they cannot get their levels going up. But if they take the sun or use a lamp with UVB, then they can get it up because it's not absorbed through the intestines.
Which is not the natural way to absorb vitamin D in the first place, right? Like it's not, I mean, technically that's not how we're built to receive vitamin D. We're built to make it in the skin, to have it go systemic and to go through the liver and the kidneys and all the things. So
yes, it's a multi-day process. It's actually more than 1 week the time you get to have vitamin D to get it to the active form, because the body needs to do many processes to get it into the 125.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so what if we were going to create for people a 12-month light periodization program? Like help us get through winter versus summer, like how people would use their light, or, you know, maybe at different latitudes, or people who work indoors all the time. So let's, for example, you know, take the most obvious population would be a population of people that spends a lot of their time indoors, but also lives in a climate where even if they wanted to, getting outside is not really practical, or it's not going to help them. So how would they use their light?
Yeah, I want to show you something. Here we have a spectrometer, and that's what I use to test and develop these products.
Okay, so one sec. So folks, if you're listening to this, I would encourage you, either whether you have Spotify or YouTube, head on over to check out the video, because Goody's going to do a very visual demonstration in a minute here. So if you can take a second and flip over to a visual, we'll explain it to you in words, but this is pretty fascinating to see. So go ahead. Sorry, Goody.
Yes, I'm going to look for what would be the normal light that you can get from an open window, so people understand. This is the perfect light.
So that's sunlight?
That's sunlight through an open window. So when you see, it's like a broadband spectrum. You have the blues. Blues are not bad, but they're balanced with the greens, with the red, with the oranges. And this part that you see here, that look like red dark, that's all of the near infrared.
Wow. And on the left, there's black, like it's super dark.
And here, it's actually not black, but it's like violet, but it almost looks black the way they represent it because it's invisible. So you're getting a full spectrum from deep violet to UVA, and on the other end to the near infrared. So this is perfect light. This is what makes us healthy and what we must be looking everywhere. And by the way, one of the reasons why walking in nature is incredible is because the trees reflect most of the near infrared. So you're getting an infrared bath from everywhere. So
that's like forest bathing. That's walking through a forest. Okay. And this is, so what Goody's holding up here is a screen that's showing the full spectrum of light. And in case anybody missed it, this is what you would get if the window was open and you were allowing the sun to come in through an open window. And even a cloudy day, you're going to get that full spectrum. Like that's natural light.
Yeah, in a cloudy day, you would get a little different spectrum because you will get lower UVBs, lower UVAs.
Yeah, but you still get,
Yeah. But another interesting thing is that if I did this test through a window, then it changes a lot because you get the violets out, the UVA out, and a lot of the near infrared out, more in modern windows. So windows change the light nature. So it's not the same light. It's better than artificial, but it's not compared to natural light.
I've heard that through like a car window, it actually is very damaging, the sun that you're getting. Like I know that my arm on on the side of the window as a driver, it looks different than my other arm. And I think part of that is when you're getting a lot of light through a car window, to your point, it's filtering out certain bands of the spectrum and allowing others through. And it's not, no bueno. It's
muy malo, muy malo.
Muy
yes.
malo.
What happens is UVB is what actually helps your skin protect it from the UVAs because UVB creates the melanin. So through a window, you block all the UVBs. So you're getting all of the UVAs without the UVBs helping to produce the melanin. And you're also getting less near infrared. That's the other one protecting. So it's like the perfect way to damage your skin because you're high in blue, high in UVA, but don't have all the other frequencies. So that's the worst case scenario.
Okay, so wear a long sleeve or put a blanket on.
Now I'm going to show how it looks a modern working environment. I'm going to point here at the screen and you're going to have a big surprise how different it looks from what we saw in nature. Okay.
Oh my God.
So that's modern light.
For those of you who can't see it, it almost like the other one had this full spectrum going from deep violet all the way to deep red, everything in between. This one starts in like a cobalt blue, goes to green, yellow, some orange, a little bit of red, and then it just falls off. So you've lost the infrareds on the infrared really completely. And you're getting this massive blue spike, which is bigger than all the other spikes.
Yeah. So basically you're not getting any violet. And violet, it's incredibly important for metabolism and for eye health. You're not getting any red, and that's important for skin mitochondria, and you're getting zero near infrared. So basically, if you design the perfect unhealthy light, this will be it. Yes, by design, this is the most, and that's what everybody is getting in offices, in a house, everywhere, because that's what's available. But now I'm going to show you, because one of the developments that we did with the new versions of the Mitolux is what we call the Fireplace Mode. And since the device has many wavelengths, we put a little bit of the red and near infrared and lots of the near infrared, so that basically it neutralizes the environment that's too rich in blue light. So this is without the blue light neutralizer. You can see it here. And now I'm going to turn it on so it doesn't disturb your eyes. I believe that that's the mode you're using right now.
Well, right now I'm using gamma, but I can switch.
Okay. Gamma is like the fireplace, but with 40 hertz for cognitive help. But here I'm going to repeat at the same distance, and you'll see the difference. So we're the only device that's doing this. So it's our creation. And now look at this.
Check it out. So Goody now uses his light spectrometer to measure what light is getting through with the fireplace mode on, fireplace mode 1, actually.
Yes.
Basically, what you're getting is infrared. And it's neutralizing the blue. So there's literally, I can't even see that there's the presence of blue. So it's mitigated for that artificial blue light that we keep talking about, which is bad for your eyes, damaging to the skin, which you basically force your body to deal with all day, every day when you're working at your computer. It's crazy.
Yeah, so basically you still have the blue light, but now in a percentage way is probably less than 1% compared to the near infrared. So it's being neutralized by all of the near infrared, and you also have a little bit of the red and near infrared. So if you see here, you see a spike of red and orange over here.
Tiny.
And that's the visible parts of what you see. So actually, the infrared you're getting is probably 20 times stronger than what you're seeing. So the near infrared is giving you a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
what does this make? It makes your working environment better. So your skin will love it, your eyes will love it. And one of the amazing things is that there's even more near infrared frequencies that the previous device could show, because it has its limits. Now I'm going to do it with this other device that gets the higher near infrared nodes, and this is what you see.
Oh,
So
so it gives you more detail in the infrared spectrum.
yes, because the first device stopped at 850 nanometers, and this goes up until 1100. So if you see here, we're also
Wow.
getting the 940 nanometer near infrared, which is super important for deep penetration and also for protecting your skin from the UVBs. So this is incredible, because that's what you'll be getting when you use this device indoors. And it's beautiful because it doesn't disturb you. It gives you this red, beautiful warmth, and you could be using it all day long while you're working in the computer, when reading, when watching TV.
Yeah, I've started using it lately, and I have to say that I feel like I get to the end of the day in better shape than when I don't use it. Like, it definitely makes a difference to how I feel. If if I'm under the overhead lights with my computer on for a full day, but I can push through and keep going. But by the end of the day, I crash, and I find I don't crash.
Yeah,
And I thought it was maybe my imagination, but apparently it's not.
yeah, the same with me, because artificial light is making us more tired. This is like, I invent the things that will benefit me because I have the issue. And one of my issues is spending too much time indoors with the computer. But
Yeah.
when I turned the fireplace mode, I could work more hours and feel better.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then the other thing you can do, guys, is with the fireplace, there's a fireplace 2 mode that if you're, let's say you're watching a show, like I just recently finished Department Q, which I thought was an amazing show. But what you can do is you can have your light in the room where you're watching TV on the fireplace 2 mode. And now you're getting the red and near infrared, but it's flickering just like a fireplace would.
No,
and again, yeah. And so again, you're mitigating that artificial blue light. You can still wear your blue blockers if you want, but if you don't have blue blockers, it'll still help you your body basically cope with that artificial blue light coming off the screen, which there's no good argument for. Like, let's be clear. There's no good argument for it.
Yes, and also an incredible thing is right now there are a lot of people that buy the infrared mask, and they're amazing. They help a lot, but they have some limitations. And one limitation is that when you put it on, you have to stop working. But the beautiful thing with the fireplace mode, if you measure the amount of light you're getting from this, it's even more power than a mask. So you could be having the skin anti-aging effects while you're working. And since you use it for a longer time, then it's amazing.
Right. Because yeah, exactly. Like the mask is going to be a short period of time, but this, I could have this on for 5-6 hours in a day, and that I won't get the same thing in 20 minutes, but I'll get it over 5 to 6 hours and probably more benefits. Okay. Well, that's really cool. That was a little plug on the fireplace mode. I didn't think we were going to do now, but now is good too. So let's talk about, I don't love the word disease because we know that we don't treat or cure anything, but let's rank the negative health categories where improving sun exposure has actually the biggest public health payoff. Like you see in the next 5 years, you can really move the needle by improving sun exposure, or whether it's full sun or whether it's better light exposure inside.
Yes, we talked about this study on last episode, and the famous Swedish study where they found out that not taking the sun is as dangerous as smoking. Just imagine that smoking is one of the worst things you can do for health, and not taking the sun is as dangerous as smoking. So
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, just by getting sun, you have a lower mortality rate, and it's because it's helping your body in so many different pathways. So one of the things that the sun will help more is nitric oxide. That's definitely, for example, high blood pressure. That's a big problem. And if people started getting more sun, then you would have more nitric oxide, and that will be helping with many circulation issues. So that's one of the benefits is people started taking more sun. Also, depression. That's one of the biggest things. For example, my father, living in El Salvador, had seasonal affective disorder, even if it was shiny outside, because he was all day inside with his iPad, with his TV, with his LEDs. So I convinced him to start going out. And he said, like, wow, whenever I go out, I feel better. And I was like, that's not too complicated science. So depression would definitely would be one thing if people went for out. In my case, when I'm ever feeling down, I go for a walk with natural sunlight. And also all of the benefits of vitamin D. Basically, vitamin D, it's the best anti-cancer medicine you could be taking, and your body produces it naturally. So we have a natural protection against lowering the incidence of cancer when we take the sun. But if we're all day inside, then that natural protection simply goes out. So that's one of the things that would definitely change if people got more sun.
And I know that there's people screaming at the computer or their phone or wherever they're listening to this on, but what about skin cancer? I mean, what do you mean it's going to lower my risk of cancer? So two things. I want to hear what you have to say about that, Goody, but also I would direct you guys to the last episode of May of 2024 that I recorded and published with Dr. Teo Soleimani, who is an oncological dermatologist in Beverly Hills. Like this guy, this is his job. This is what he does. And he talks a lot about how there just isn't a straight line between sun exposure and skin cancer. It's a lot of other factors that contribute to skin cancer. But and I think, it goes without saying, guys, that there's nuance to what we're talking about here. We're not, Goody's saying you got to get out in the sun, you got to see the light, you got to do all the things, but he's not advocating that you need to be in the sun for 12 hours a day. Like, unprotected, full sun kind of thing. There's a balancing act here, but there's no doubt that the pendulum has swung way to the other extreme right now. And you mentioned something earlier about toxic sunscreens, which he talked about as well, which I think we have to remember that if you're slathering on sunscreen, you're not making vitamin D. So let's go back to those conditions. What about bone health? And you've mentioned a few times, you've mentioned metabolic health.
Oh, yeah.
Today. Do you want to touch on those a little bit before we move on to the next question?
Yes, and it's all an interplay, because when you get vitamin D, that helps your metabolism. So when you're getting the sun, you're producing vitamin D. That's helping your metabolism in many different pathways. Also, you're getting the UVAs, the nitric oxide, that's helping your metabolism too. And even near infrared is helping your metabolism. For example, they have done some tests and they had people eat a high sugar meal. One group just eats the high sugar meal. The other immediately goes in front of a full body red light therapy panel. So they're receiving near infrared, and the spike is lower because it's helping with insulin sensitivity. So the sun just works through so many different pathways and through so many different wavelengths. And that's what we're trying to give people with our device, the ability to be getting more of the great wavelengths that the sun delivers, even if you spend all your day 9 to 5, if you have mobility issues, if you have bad weather like you do in Canada. In summer, my recommendation would be go outside, enjoy the sun as much as you can. But in Canada, at least 6 months a year, you're not getting any great sunlight.
For sure. And, not to bring up a sore point, but as wildfires increase, they're also going to have an impact on the light that gets through. Like I would say that until about a week ago, we had a constant haze in the sky. So number one, that contributes to respiratory issues, but that's also going to affect the rays that get through. So I think worldwide, unfortunately, the way that things are going, there's going to be more and more reasons to have solutions inside the home that can help to balance out what we might not be able to get outside all the time. Now, look, a lot of people live in beautiful sunny climates. They are blessed. I'm a little bit jealous, and they're probably the people that don't really need one of these, but they're few and far between. For those of us who live in any of the northern climates, or but you even mentioned like your dad living in El Salvador. I mean, where's El Salvador? It's right by the equator.
Yes, we're at latitude 13, so we have a lot of sunshine.
So understand, like, what are your realities? Like, what's the reality of your life? And actually, let me ask you a question. So we talk about morning light being important, midday light being important, and evening light being important. Like and I talk about this all the time. But if you had to pick one, and I don't know if you can, but let's say you did. If you had to pick one, which one would you pick? Would it be morning, noon, or night?
Noon near the Caribbean.
Noon. So you have to get on a plane, get to the Caribbean, and get out at noon. Okay.
Yes, near the equator. That would be more exact, near the equator. And it's because one of the ingredients in the sun that are present in very little is the UVB. So even in my country, when I take these devices and measure the UVB at noon, at the highest peak of the year, it's basically 0.4 to 0.5% of the total energy this device measures. And that's at noon. But if I went, for example, at noon to New York, it will be a lot of this, and that's in summer. And if you go in November, then basically you will have 0 UVB. And it's UVB, the one that basically has the most metabolic and different pathways to vitamin D and so much more to help with your body. So if I only had one, it would be noon. But I would take it responsibly because, because you're not there to be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You have to build your solar callus. So usually when I take it, right now my body, and that's very, very funny because I protect my face, I cover it. So if I go 15 minutes in the sun, I would probably get a burn because my skin in my face, I usually cover it so the skin doesn't age. And I put the rest of my body in the sun so I can take 30 minutes one side, 30 minutes the other, and nothing happens. I don't even get red because it's already getting used to it, but I cover my face.
Interesting. Good for you. I did not cover my face for a very long time.
No, and in my case, I used to use sunblock on my face, but not on my neck. So my neck looks older than my face. And now I'm using mineral sunscreen on both my neck, face, and hands. But the best thing you could do is to reverse the aging with more morning light or more near infrared in a panel like ours. And also to get the right dose of sunlight, because the problem is when you're getting too much and you get burned.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so, if there's a theme to this episode, folks, we're not advocating for all sun. We're not advocating for all anything. It's you've definitely got to walk through this. You've got to walk this path with nuance. And actually, one thing we haven't talked about yet is different skin types. And you talk like when anybody receives a Mitolux panel, they're going to get you send them a whole book, like a whole little book. Which is incredible because it really, so I feel like instruction manuals have gone the way of the dodo bird. And so I keep getting these devices and it's like, oh, go to this QR code for whatever, which is fine, but a lot of people don't. Like they can't be bothered, or they lose the piece of paper, or whatever the case may be. You've actually taken the time to put together a book for people, and in that book, people will see that there's a benefit for people with all skin types, from the fairest of them all, like I think it's a Fitzpatrick 1, all the way up to someone who is very, very dark skinned, and. Speak to that a little bit, because even someone with very dark skin, and maybe there's an argument that says even more that they need that full spectrum of light.
Yes, the darker your skin, the more sunlight you need. And that's why Latinos and African Americans in the United States have higher diabetes rates. And the reason is you need more sunlight. It's not just the food, because nutrition until now just has taken into account what you're eating, but actually your body responds to the stimuli of the environment, and the light environment is one of the best signaling devices to tell you how your body to function. So if you're not getting enough sun, then that's making your body think that you're in winter. And if you're in winter, you have to change a lot of things. It's like a type of hibernation to protect you in an evolutionary standpoint, and that's what's happening. So, for example, with the Mitolux, for somebody that Fitzpatrick type 1, they'd start with the UVB1, and that's just 3 minutes. First minute red infrared, then 1 minute of red infrared plus UVB, and the last minute just near infrared. So basically, we're doing a mini cycle to start getting your skin used to light. But if you were an African American, you would probably need at least a P6. That would be like 10 minutes, and that's just a starting point, because then you can be building your solar callus and be going up. In my
case, how do people build up? Like, how do they know when it's time to increase?
It's super easy. People sometimes they try to go crazy fast, and I tell them, like, have patience. Even if you overdose UVB, your vitamin D production goes down. So there's actually a sweet spot. So, for example, in your case, you'd probably be like Fitzpatrick type 2.5 because
I'm a 3.
Or a 3. Yes, I'm a 3 too. So basically, we should start at a P3. And then wait 4 hours and press, if you do it on your chest, and see if you got any small reddening. So if you don't get any, you can go then to P4, and then you test. And if you get a little reddening like you would normally get from a light sun exposure, and then you can go up. So in my case, now I go UVB 7, UVB 8, because I'm already, my skin is adapted to the sun. So that's just the starting point for safety. But that doesn't mean that you should not be going up, because depending on your melanin and your solar callus, so probably you should now start the P4, then P5, then P7, until you find your current sweet spot.
Okay. And the current sweet spot is designated by you should or you should not see any pinkness in your skin?
A little bit.
Like the tiniest bit. Okay.
Yes, just a little bit.
Well, because it's summer right now and I have gotten some sun, I think that I could probably bump up I don't use my UVB as much in the summer because I'm getting sun outside. But it won't be long before the winter is coming. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit. If you were a health minister, what would you start with? Workplace daylight standards, school outdoor time mandates, or latitude specific guidance? Ooh, that's like asking you to pick your favorite child.
Wow.
What would you first?
I would pick the number 2, the one for the schools, because
for the kids. Yeah,
because it's all about building habits. And 80 years ago, kids were playing outside, getting fresh air, getting sun, and they were naturally getting all of the sun they needed. And so in my case, I was taught when I was a child to avoid the sun. So we now need to start doing the opposite. So I would choose change education from school level, but not just educate, but get kids playing, moving, exercising more outside, and that would change the mindset from the current mindset, because it's amazing and it's so sad. Now kids are all day with their iPads inside their house, artificial light. They're not socializing. They're not getting natural light. So we need to reverse what technology has done and get back to nature.
100%. And I actually released an episode with Dr. Robert Melillo earlier this year, and he, quite apart from all that, he talks about in young children how the devices actually rewire their brain and not in a positive way. So there's a lot there. That's a big discussion. And I think that's a great place to start. And then maybe, what's cool about kids is once you teach them that something's really good or really bad for them, they become like the most powerful enforcers on the planet. And they would probably force their parents to change their behavior and be successful at it. Okay. So I want to move through a couple more things before we finish up. So let's say somebody's listening to this and they're not convinced. So, what lab or non-lab markers should a skeptical listener track for 8 to 12 weeks to judge if the light therapy is doing anything for them?
There are so many, but for example, one thing I recommend to most people is to do something as simple as taking a vitamin D test, because most people have no idea what their levels are, and most people think they're doing great while they're incredibly deficient. And the only way to know it is you actually take a test, because you could be taking oral vitamin D, but you're not absorbing it, so you're doing bad. Or you might live in the Bahamas, but you're working in 9 to 5 in an office. And when you go outside, you cover yourself, you put sunscreen, so you're not helping in any way. So a recommendation would be take a vitamin D test. You should aim not for the above 30, because that's just a standard for calcium absorption. When you want to have most of the benefits of vitamin D or the sun, you should try to aim at least at 70. So in my case, I try to be between 80 and 90 and keep below 100. So that's why I try to aim, and then change your lifestyle, use our product, and then measure again in 3 months. And that way you should know if you're doing things right or if you have an increase, and also to keep changing your habits. So that's the test number one. And vitamin D should not be a test just to know your vitamin D level, but to know if you're getting enough sunlight.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. I don't know how much clinical evidence there is on testosterone. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? There's been a couple of kind of big name influencers who've made some pretty crazy claims about testosterone levels.
Yes, testosterone is dependent on many different things. For example, if you want to crush your testosterone, sleep 3 hours for 1 week, and your testosterone will crash incredibly. So if you're not sleeping well and you get the sun or use the device, you'll probably not raise your testosterone, because testosterone is mostly produced at night. And if you're not resting, then you're destroying it. But if you combine a sun exposure during the day with a great darkness during the night, and also great sleep during the night, your testosterone will definitely start going up. And that's why you see tendencies, if they measure testosterone year round, they have a curve that basically goes down in winter. Also, mortality goes up in winter, and it's also related to sunlight. So that's interesting. So in summer, your testosterone goes down. In winter, up, and in winter it goes down. So definitely getting more sun exposure helps with testosterone, but it's also depending on many other factors. And the pathway that they found right now, it's through the p53 molecule. So there's a molecule that when you get the sun, it sends signal to your brain to produce more luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. And when you do that, then your testicles start producing more testosterone in men, for example.
Interesting. I love it. I have a few quick questions for us to finish up, okay? So short answers, please, sir. You're very good at answering properly. So what is it, if you could wish away one sunlight myth this year, what would it be?
Basically, the biggest reason people avoid the sun is because they're afraid of cancer. So that would be the myth that I would love people to see more the studies that are coming up, so they are less scared about it, so they could balance the risk versus the benefits.
Perfect. Love it. What's the best N of 1 experiment a listener can run in 14 days, though? Is there a N of 1 experiment you feel people could run for over 2 weeks and see a metric change?
The biggest change you will see is in your mood when you take the sun. So the metric, you should be asking yourself how much energy you have, how happy you are. And it will be basically get more sun through your eyes early in the morning to sync your circadian rhythm, and then try to get sunbaths whenever possible. So if you get more natural light through your skin and through your eyes, in 14 days, you will feel the difference. With our device, it's easier because it doesn't depend on your timing or on the weather. use the device on the UVB mode on your chest, 5-7 minutes depending on your level, and you're definitely going to start seeing improvements on your energy levels. In my case, for example, whenever I get UVB or use the lamp, I see a change in my libido. My libido is so dependent on UVBs. It's amazing how much I can feel it.
Interesting. Okay, good one. So mood, libido, and energy, those three things. Okay.
Yes.
I think I think everybody who's been listening this long knows the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If you could add one wavelength your device currently exclude, which one and why?
Whew. It will definitely be UVAs.
Yeah, for the nitric oxide.
Yes, UVAs between 360 nanometers, 385 nanometers, because that's where actually from 350 to 385, because that's where the nitric oxide, when the oxidation for the melanin happens, and also where we also stimulate some chromophores, because now there's another science about the opsins that are chromophores in your skin that basically give signals. So when you go with the 380, you're triggering opsin 5.
Okay. All right. That's a bigger answer than I expected. Okay. Now, last but not least, for anybody who's interested in a Mitolux lamp, the new models all have new features that the old didn't. So they all, even whether you got the first one or the last one, you're going to get the near infrared, infrared, and UVB. But now in the new ones, you've built these three, and we touched on them quickly, but maybe very quickly review Fireplace Mode 1, Fireplace Mode 2, and the Gamma mode.
Yes, the Gamma mode is not on the Mitolite. That is the less expensive version. So the Gamma is just for the higher end. But in my case, the Fireplace mode is the mode that I'm using most of the day, because you can use it without disturbing your eyes while you're working, reading, watching TV. Every time I'm inside and I can use it, that's an amazing one. So that's one of the changes. And also for the normal version, we also added more wavelengths. We used to have 2 near infrared and 2 orange red. Now we also added the 810, I believe, and the 940 nanometer wavelength. So it has more benefits because it has more wavelengths.
Is that both models or just the Mitolux?
The Mitolite came the same wavelengths as the original model, and for the Mitolux we added the 2 more wavelengths. So
So the Fireplace mode is not available on the Mitolite, or it is?
Yeah, it's available. Just the Gamma, it's not available.
Just the Gamma. And the Gamma, just maybe quickly explain to people about the Gamma. I don't know if we did that before, but you came across some really interesting research on cognitive benefits of the Gamma light. So do you want to just quickly touch on that? Yes,
basically your brain has different frequencies it can be working at, depending if you're sleeping, concentrated, stressed. And the Gamma mode is one of the best brain levels you could have. And when you put light at 40 hertz, it basically makes your brain sync with the Gamma. And that's when you have a better brain performance. So there are studies that show that if you take the Gamma before a test, it could improve the results you get. And also with people that have a cognitive decline because of aging, this would be something you could be using every day. And the beautiful thing about our device is that there are many devices that have the Gamma, but they use it with normal white light, high in blue. But we're the only ones that are doing it with the red and near infrared. So it's healthier.
Here, I'll show people what it looks like. I had it on at the beginning of the podcast, guys. So if you noticed that there was red, but for those of you who have very sensitive eyes, you'll notice there's a bit of a flicker going on. And that's the Gamma. That's the 40 hertz flicker. Okay, Goody. Another question for you. So for listeners who are using photosensitizing medications or who have autoimmune dermatologic conditions, are there any red flag contraindications people should be aware of?
Well, basically, what happens is that you are more susceptible for getting a burn, but that doesn't mean that you have to spend all day inside your house and be afraid of the sun. So what I would encourage to those people is to try to get more early sunlight that doesn't have the UVB that can burn, and work yourself from there. So start getting morning sunlight, then mid-morning, and then until noon. And in the case they want to use our device, you should start the first weeks probably just using the healing mode, which is red and near infrared. So that's like the golden hour. And then start with the UVB1, even if your skin is darker, but go on the safe side and see how it goes. And then you can keep growing from there. But one problem with people that are using those photosensitizers is that they get afraid so much from the sun that they avoid it so much, and then they create further health issues. So you need to be more conservative to your sun exposure, but you should definitely not avoid it.
Okay, perfect. And then last, another one for women's health. In women's health, is there any differences you've observed across cycling, like women who are cycling in perimenopause or menopause, that might shape the dosage and the timing, or is it pretty much really just based on skin type?
It's basically just on skin type. I have not seen any difference on the dosing that you must get. But obviously, the women that have more problems with their hormones, they should be actually getting more sunlight or getting UVB from a device.
Goody, this has been fantastic. Is there anything we forgot to talk about, or do you think we're good for now?
I think we're good for now. And also what I tell people is, don't believe me, do your own research. And you'll find out, because I was the same. I didn't believe it until I tried. And now I'm just discovering more and more benefits every month, every year on sunlight. So do it yourself.
Beautiful. I love it. So thank you so much for coming today. For those of you who want to get your hands, whether it's on the Mitolux sun lamp or the Mitolight, which is like a little less expensive, and it's just really missing the gamma and a couple of other things, you'll want to go to mitolux.com/nat10 and use code nat10. Did you want to show something? Goody?
Yes, I just wanted to show people the Mitolight here.
It's adorable. I have it downstairs.
So it's orange. It's super compact. You can take it with you on your travels. And the beautiful thing is you don't just use it for red light therapy. You use it many times a day to be getting the different benefits of natural sunlight. So that's what our slogan, get your daily dose of sunshine, either from the sun or either from Mitolux.
Beautiful. I love it. Goody, thank you so much. Oh, also, people can follow you on Instagram. Where do they find you?
Yes, they can find us on Mitolux USA. And also, if you have any questions, write to us and we will happily answer. Sometimes I take the calls myself because we really believe that educating people is the best way.
I love it. Thank you, Goody. This has been great as always. And I hope that we get to bump into each other at a conference this fall.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.